I'd like to share with you some basic tips for getting started with Sacred Acoustics recordings, and keep in mind that these are not strict rules. These are basic suggested guidelines. Each of us is unique. Each of us will find our preferred, most effective way of listening. And so keep that in mind when you are listening to these suggestions, and feel free to try these and other things to make your listening experience the best it can be. We recommend the best position for listening to Sacred Acoustics recordings is lying down. Now, this is a little bit counter to many other meditative or spiritual practices of going within that recommend that you sit straight in a chair and have your feet flat on the ground, or maybe sitting cross-legged on the floor, or kneeling, or sitting up on a cushion or small bench. These are acceptable ways to listen to Sacred Acoustics recordings if that's your habit, but lying down can really offer the body an opportunity to get very profoundly relaxed, which is what our tones are designed to do, so that the mind or awareness can be set free. Now, if lying down causes you to fall asleep, another video will address those issues, but lying down is great. Now, some people feel like they might have a little pain or something, and so in that case, find some pillows, put them under your knees, maybe under your back or your neck, or sit up in a reclining position. Just find that position where your body can be just very profoundly relaxed. And some people do like to listen while walking or sitting up, and that's fine. That is fine if that works for you. But one thing we absolutely do not recommend is to listen while driving, and that is because our tones can put the listener into a drowsy state, sometimes without realizing, and that's just a little bit too dangerous for other people on the road. And so keep that in mind when you choose when to listen. Now, try that lying down or any other position and really experiment through different listening sessions to see what works best for you. Many people ask, what is the best time of day to listen to Sacred Acoustics recordings? And this is really up to the individual listener. We all have different schedules and different opportunities to fit such things into our day, but first thing in the morning can be a really interesting time because your body is already very relaxed, and right when you first wake up, you don't have a lot of things going on in your mind except maybe some memories of dreams. And so this can be a really good time to listen first thing in the morning when you first wake up. Now, others like to listen in the afternoon, maybe when they're taking a break from their work, and others listen before they fall asleep because they find it helps them to get into a relaxed state. And something that many listeners maybe don't think of is to listen in the middle of the night, and this can be fun and can really sometimes affect your dreams. And so this can be fun to do if you wake up in the middle of the night and have trouble falling back asleep, or you can even set your alarm and put those headphones on at 1 or 2 a.m. and see what happens in your dream space. Now, how often you listen, again, is up to the individual listener. There's no hard and fast rules, but some people find that they get a little groggy when listening, or it's such a powerful experience they couldn't do it more than once. So once a day is kind of the minimum that we recommend that you try to work in. Now, if you can't do it once a day, don't beat yourself up. Try and do it a couple times a week. Now, if you're only doing it once a week, you may not have as good of results. The more you do it, the more results you'll have, and you will go through plateaus where you think you've maybe reached the full benefit, and you just keep on listening because those plateaus will turn into more breakthroughs. And so keep on listening. Now, if you want to listen more than once a day, that's fine as well. Some people listen several times a day. It really just depends on how you're reacting to the tones and how much you can really fit into your schedule. A very useful thing to do in conjunction with listening to Sacred Acoustics recordings is to keep a journal. Now, what we mean by this is to keep a paper and pencil or pen nearby where you're listening to Sacred Acoustics recordings. And at the end of your listening, just jot down some notes, any notes about what you experienced, any body sensations, any images, any insights. Write them down, because like dreams, they can be very fleeting and you might forget some details. And so it can be very useful to just write them down. And even if they don't make any sense at all, it can be useful over time to notice patterns. And so if you write that down and it doesn't make sense, 2 weeks from now, it might make a lot of sense, and it can be fun to go back and read through that journal. Now, another thing to keep in your journal is maybe any intentions or feelings that you have prior to listening, and also anything that's happening outside your listening experience that may or may not be related. So these are things like interesting synchronicities or interesting dreams that maybe are related to one of your listening sessions with the recording. So keeping track of your experiences is very useful over time and can sometimes surprise you in the end to find certain patterns. So we really encourage you to keep that journal by your side when listening to Sacred Acoustics recordings. Sacred Acoustics recordings are designed to put the listener into a profoundly relaxed state, brainwave states associated with sleep and dreamings and profound relaxation. Brainwave states in the ranges of delta, theta, and alpha. Now, these states can make the listener feel a little groggy, a little funny. And so at the end of our recordings, with the exception of our recordings designed for sleep, at the end of most of our recordings, we include what we call a beta signal. This is a higher pitched tone, which to some can be a little disconcerting, but they're in there by design to help bring the brain out of that deeper state. Now, sometimes that's not enough. Some people still feel a little groggy afterwards, and in this instance, we recommend that you perform some additional grounding activities. Now, listening all the way through to the end of that higher pitched frequency is your first step, but if that's not enough, try walking outside barefoot. Try splashing cold water on your face or take a cold shower. Do some vigorous activity like exercise or play with a pet or child where you can maybe more easily find some good hearty laughter. Anything like that is going to help you to get grounded. Cold water is really the quickest, easiest defense in most cases. So try that if you're feeling a little bit groggy, and keep that in mind when listening to not plan very intense activities following your listening session until you're able to get into that more grounded state. So I hope that these tips have been useful to you with getting started in listening to Sacred Acoustics recordings. And there's many other tips and techniques in other videos that we have provided in this series. But as always, if you have further questions, please feel free to reach out to us at sacredacoustics.com.